The Daily Beast has an exclusive report here coming out of Louisiana where protests over the police killing of Alton Sterling continued last night. They say cops are containing reporters and threatening to arrest all journalists without credentials. The Daily Beast and several other media outlets were forced into a 10-foot wide zone by police during a protest. Police then ordered all reporters without credentials out of the zone and threatened to arrest anyone who put a foot in the street. Minutes later, some of the 100 police in riot gear charged the area where protesters were legally gathered, forcing them into the street where they were then arrested for obstructing a highway. Well, that's a cute trick. On Saturday, at least 3 journalists were arrested. Both were booked on one count of obstructing a highway, which was the same charge leveled against DeRay McKesson, a prominent Black Lives Matter activist. All have since been released from jail. So there's actually video of DeRay getting arrested. He's clearly walking on the side of the road with all the other protesters, not obstructing anything, and he gets tackled. And then they arrest him. And again, they explain it here. This is the Daily Beast saying it, so this isn't like people within the movement who you might say, oh, well, they have a conflict of interest. No, there's people in the Daily Beast who say, no, there was a move done where like 100 police officers in riot gear charged the protesters, pushed the protesters out into the street, and then arrested them because they said, you're obstructing a highway. You're obstructing traffic. Okay, that's amazing. Now, understand, there are other instances and other protests going on elsewhere in the country where they did block the highway, and that was the whole point. That was the goal of it. In this instance, that wasn't the case. They were on the side of the road, the police put them into the road, and then they arrested them for being in the road. That's insanity. And also, I mean, I can't tell you, how many times have we seen this? All throughout the country. Every time there's a protest, like I remember during the Mike Brown situation when Ferguson erupted in protests, there were just out-and-out instances of taking away First Amendment rights, where you have a right to a free press in the country. The government cannot just suppress the press and say, I'm not going to let you report on that. You're going to have to move from here. I'm not going to allow you over here. My authority overrides you because I'm wearing a badge and I'm an officer. You're not allowed to do that. So what happened? Well, in Ferguson, they literally came in there, were aggressive, physically kicked reporters out of McDonald's, tried to get them not to report on certain things. Here you have the same thing. Like, you're not complying exactly with my official order to tell you to do X, Y, and Z. But they ended up moving them 6 blocks away so that they couldn't see what was going on. Okay, well, at that point, you just don't understand the First Amendment. You don't understand the Constitution. How many officers around the country, how many police departments have not instructed their officers, hey, by the way, you can't do that with the press. It's a free press. This is a First Amendment protection. If you try to treat the press like that, you are violating the law. You are now a criminal. And it drives me crazy because apparently this is the case all around the country. Just like we covered the story recently, there's a kid who burned a flag, an American flag, on the 4th of July, I think in Texas, but I could be mistaken. And what happened? The neighbors complained, so the cops came and arrested the kid. Now, eventually they released him, of course, because people called them, and they're like, you fucking idiots, There was a gigantic Supreme Court case over this where they said you have a right to burn a flag. It's not a crime. You can't just arrest somebody for burning a flag. That's crazy. Do you not know about the Supreme Court case, which was a huge case, where even Antonin Scalia, a far-right judge, was like, of course you can't arrest somebody for burning a flag. That's political speech. That's expression. But the police department's like, oh, he burned a flag. I don't know. I guess it's bad. And let me go look at this old statute from fucking like 18-something. And yeah, I'm gonna arrest you for that. How do you not know these basic First Amendment things? These officers arresting journalists, moving them 6 blocks away, giving them orders which they aren't allowed to give them. How do you not get that that's unconstitutional? And these come from the same people who would be first to say, oh, Second Amendment rights, man, not debatable, Constitution, not debatable. But First Amendment, that one is debatable because I don't like reporters explaining the bullshit I'm doing where I'm pushing protesters into the street and then arresting them for being in the street. So no more of this, man. I mean, want to talk about redoing training. Obviously, you need to redo police training to do de-escalation tactics. But also you have to redo training to get them to understand basic constitutional rights, you know? Look, I'm sure some of you guys have seen it. I've seen it a bunch of times. If you ever watch the show Cops, what happens? The officer goes, sometimes they just start searching the car. Okay, that person has a right for you to decline that. And oftentimes they don't have probable cause. I mean, they would argue, I had probable cause. Why? He didn't turn his blinker on. Well, that's not probable cause. That's not probable cause. That's not reason to search through the rest of the car. That's not. It's just not. So, but they'll do it, and then they'll act like they're constitutionally in the right. No, you're not. You're wrong, and you don't even fucking realize it. How sad are you? You're supposed to uphold the law. You don't even know the law. You don't know the most basic law. You don't know the First Amendment to the United States Constitution and what it entails. So this is something I've seen time and time again. They don't know the most basic things. You don't know about freedom of the press. You don't know about freedom of expression. You don't know about freedom to protest. So what do? I don't know, push them in the street and then arrest them. Or they just don't care. It's one or the other. But either way, it's unacceptable and it's got to stop.